Here are two plumbing companies in the same city. One nearly has 20 times as many reviews, and one of them sits in the top spot of the map pack while the other is just buried beneath. Similar trucks, same service, and same town. The only difference you can see on the screen is the name. One is called something like a normal brand name, and the other one reads like the service plus the city. And that is the secret. And this is not luck, and it's not some kind of paid ad. It's a ranking lever that most owners never touch because it lives inside the business name field of the Google Business Profile. And Google reads that field literally. In this walkthrough, I'm going to show you guys the exact mechanism behind why that name wins and the legal path to change your own profile name using a registered DBA without getting your listing suspended. I guarantee by following these exact steps, you will rank higher in your target service area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you the mechanism you can inspect on your own listing tonight. So watch the comparison, understand why it works, and then decide whether your name is helping or holding you back. Here's why this is worth 15 minutes of your attention. For most local service searches, the map pack sits above the organic links, and the majority of clicks never scroll past those first few listings. If you are outside the top 3, you're effectively invisible for the searchers that turn into installs and emergency calls. Your business name is one of the few ranking inputs you control directly and can change in an afternoon, assuming you do it the compliant way. Companies with the same name strategy can still rank differently based on proximity, reviews, and categories. So treat the name as one lever amongst several, not just a magic switch. And a hard rule before we go any further, everything I describe assumes you register the name legally first. I'm teaching you to earn the right to use the descriptive name and then use it to rank higher in maps. Let us start with the mechanism, because if you understand this, the rest is just execution. When someone searches plumber repair near a city, Google is trying to match that query against every signal it has about local business. Relevance, distance, and prominence are the 3 big buckets that Google itself describes. When your registered name contains the exact words a customer is typing, the service, and often the location, Google sees a literal text match between the query and your listing. And that is a strong, direct, relevant signal, and it's sitting in a field that most business owners just end up filling with some kind of brand name that means nothing to do with the algorithm. Watch what happens on screen when I search the service plus the city. Notice how the profiles literally contain those words tend to cluster near the top, and the ones with abstract brand names have to fight harder to even maintain the top 3 or 4 positions. This is why a company name for what it does and where it does it can outrank a bigger, older brand that named itself after the founder. Now, the honest caveat, Google's guidelines say your profile name must represent your real-world business name as it appears on your storefront, signage, and legal documents. So you're not allowed just to stuff keywords in the name field and just hope that you're going to rank higher. Google actively removes and can suspend listings that do this. And the move is not to fake some kind of naming. The move is to legally become a business whose real name includes the service in the city, and that is a completely different defensible plan. And this is where the DBA comes in. And this is the part that almost nobody explains correctly, so let me walk you through it really carefully here. DBA stands for doing business as, and it's a registered trade name that lets your existing legal entity operate under a different public-facing name. This is a normal, boring legal business tool that plumbers, contractors, and franchisees use every single day. The reason it matters here is that Google's naming rule points to your real-world business name, and a properly filed DBA is a real-world business name. So the compliant sequence looks something like this. 1, decide a name that accurately describes your business and includes the service and the city you actually serve. Something like a city plus heating and cooling, for example. 2, you're going to file the DBA or trade name with the correct authority, which, depending on your state, is usually about the county clerk or the secretary of state. 3, keep the filing paperwork, because that document is your proof the name is legitimate to Google if they ever ask you to verify, which they probably will. 4, update your public presence with a new name that shows up consistently on your website, your truck wraps if you can, your invoices, basically anything to do with your brand. You want to try and update to that new DBA business name. Changing the name on Google alone is only about half the job, and doing only half creates a new problem. Google actually cross-references your business against other citations, which are mentions of your name, address, and phone number scattered across directories, review sites, and industry listings. This trio is often called NAP, N-A-P. When your Google name says one thing and then 50 old directory listings say another, you send Google conflicting signals about who you are, and inconsistency can undercut the prominence that you are trying to build. So after the DBA is filed and you update Google, you need to go clean up that trail. Now, what you need to do is start by looking at the big data aggregators, the major directories. Update the names to match, make sure the address and the phone numbers are all identical everywhere, and literally down to the abbreviation. I kid you not. On screen, I'm going to show you exactly how to audit your existing citations so you can see the inconsistencies for yourself. Now we're going to take a look at this profile here. Now I'm not going to lie, this is tedious work, and this is exactly why most of your competitors never actually finish it, which is partly why this lever still stays underused. You don't have to fix every single citation on the internet in one day. You do have to be consistent going forward and systematically correct the highest authority listings first. Think of the name as the headline of the citations as the evidence that the headline is true, right? When they agree, the whole listing gets stronger. As you can see here, just by typing in the business name, you can just kind of scroll through and look for the business name consistent across different directories. You want to click into every single one of these, making sure your name, address, and phone number, business hours, description, photos, basically anything to do with that business. The business information is consistent across every single one of these profiles. Again, there is a sliding slope to this. You want to make sure you target the best, most prominent listings first, and then you can go after the more niche type review directories and other listings that are further down on page, say 4, 5, and 6. But it's important to go through every one of these every single time you do this. Now the warnings, because this lever does have a sharp edge. First off is suspension risk, obviously. So if you change your Google name to something that you're not legally registered as, you jam a whole bunch of extra keywords in there, trying to trick Google into thinking how to rank you higher, you're exposing your listing to removal, and the reinstating of a suspended profile is slow and oftentimes very painful. Under no circumstances should you ever rename first and then file later. Always file first and then rename second. Now, second, do not make 10 changes to your profile in one day. Rapid dramatic edits, especially to core fields like the name, can trigger a review. Register the DBA, make the name change, and give it some room to breathe. It needs time. And now for the big one if you're watching this in 2026 when this video comes out. Google updates its naming and profile guidelines regularly, and the exact wording of what's allowed in a business name can totally shift. Everything that I've described follows the principle that you're using a real, legally registered name, which is the durable interpretation. But before you file anything, you have to read Google's current business name guidelines for yourself and confirm the present rules. Treat the DBA as your protection and the current guideline as more or less your final check. So here's what to inspect tonight in order. 1, pull up your own profile and read your business name the way Google actually reads it as literal text. Ask whether it contains the service and the area you actually serve, or if it's just a brand word that means nothing to a searcher. Check your primary category and see if it matches the one service you most want the phone to ring for, and then run one search for your core service plus your city and honestly note where you land in the map pack and who's above you. Look at their names. The comparison alone will tell you whether the name lever is in play in your market. If it is, your path is clear. Register the DBA legally, update Google carefully, and then clean the citations, and you're golden. If you're looking for a comprehensive audit on your Google business profile and you're wondering how you rank compared to your competitors, find a time below. We've worked with hundreds of other home service companies to get them ranking higher on Google and get them more inbound leads.